I call this Medina Valley ISD regular board meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. on November 21st, 2024. The next item, we have to establish a quorum. We have a quorum of board members present. Absent board member Nathan Fillinger. The next item, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing concerning the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, otherwise known as FIRST. Ms. Hermish.
Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kalos, this is our annual report of the FIRST rating. And at the conclusion of it, we do request public comment. So if there is any, we'll get to that part too. So as you pointed out, the FIRST stands for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, and this is really it's a after the fact report, but it does look at some of your financial and fiscal health of your school district. And this is one way that TEA makes sure that districts are managing their funds appropriately. And it does give you an option, or it does provide you with some information so that if you are not doing a wonderful job, it gives you some metrics so that you can work to improve your current practices. So it measures things like your cash flow, what your ratios are, your asset to liability ratios, if you're turning things in on time, kind of things like that. So we'll kind of go through a little bit about this, but just as a quick overview, the determination of rating. So there are 4 critical indicators that will cause you to fail the test, and we'll go through each of those. The main one is really not getting your audit completed and submitted on time is really the one that can get you in trouble. And then there are a few ceiling indicators where if you're below a certain threshold that you can't get more than an A or more than a B on your rating. And then you can see there kind of like our students get graded with a 90 and above is an A, 80 and above B, and so forth. I do want to remind you that this is based on our 22-23 school year data, so not last year, but the year before, because then in 23-24 we did the audit report of 22-23, and then the rating comes out the year later. So sometimes it does feel like you get the information a little too far retroactively in order to really make any adjustments, and a lot of times things have changed a lot since that time. But regardless, this is something that TEA looks at, and we do all get scored on. So here's just kind of a quick glance at those first 4 or critical indicators. Like I said, the annual financial report or audit is the first one on there. The district didn't have any issues with any of these indicators, and we'll be bringing the audit report to you all in our December meeting. So we'll have that to look forward to here really soon for last year. Unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can get on an audit report. It always sounds a little it doesn't sound quite as astounding as getting a superior rating on something. Instead, you just get an unmodified, which means they didn't have to change anything significant in your audit. And then compliance with all of our debt payments and making all timely payments to TRS and the IRS and TWC. And so the district had no issues with any of those items. And then off to the side, you really just see how districts throughout the state ranked. And as you can see, most districts know these are failure indicators and don't have any issues. There was one district, I believe, this year that did not get an audit report turned in time, and so you see a little bit of a ding there. And so then the next several indicators are really about kind of your cash balance. So a positive net position, that you had enough cash on hand, your fund balance is sufficient to make all of your payments, your debt to liability ratios are good. And again, the district either passed or received all 10 points on all of these indicators. And then we move on. These next several, number 10 is kind of a fun one because it is that you budgeted pretty close to actual, so you have to be within 10% of your revenue budget. And this is TEA. This was kind of a new one a few years ago, and it's TEA's attempt at making sure that you're counting for your student counts correctly and projecting your revenues pretty close to where they are versus overestimating that. For this current year, or for 22-23, this wasn't evaluated, and so you kind of see that marked off there. We wouldn't have had any issue had it been evaluated, but it wasn't at the time, and some of that is just with some of the INS hold harmlesses and things like that, the TA and COVID, people had a little bit of a pass. And then you kind of get into the next two, 11 and 12, talk a lot about your debt ratios and your liabilities. And so 11 was great for the district, where we lost points, and this is the only indicator we lost points on, is your property value to your future debt repayments. And we've talked about this a couple times, in that the state measures this one based on your current property values, not what your property values are going to grow. So this one is a tough indicator for a lot of fast growth districts that are issuing bonds. And as you recall, we issued the 2023 bonds at the end of that fiscal year. So all of that 300 million plus went onto the roll without the additional growth to quite support that yet, which we are growing into it. I did look up, on request of Finance Committee, some of the other districts that lost points on this, and they're ones that you've heard quite a bit about with fast growth and small and managing their debt. But Liberty Hill received 4 of the 10 points. Navarro, who's a pretty close, small but now quickly growing school district, had 6. Royce City had 6. And so as you see, a lot of times it's your smaller districts that are all of a sudden seeing a lot of fast growth and needing to build schools quickly, but maybe don't have that commercial tax base yet to support it, that are going to kind of struggle with this one. Next year we should look a little better because we didn't issue any debt in 23-24, so we will see that improve as we grow into our property values. And then 13 is your administrative cost ratio, which is just how much are you spending kind of in that Function 41 admin area versus how much are you spending directly serving students. And so we always are really low, well under 4% on that as well. If I hit the right button. And then the state over the years has added several other indicators in here, and it is really just, a lot of it is on making sure that your estimates are good, so it's looking at, you don't have, your student to staff ratio isn't growing by a lot, your ADA is close to what you projected it to be. We're actually about to submit our projections for the next 2 years or next biennium. And so we want to make sure that we're using our demographer report and we're making those estimates pretty close. That what we're submitting in PEAMS and what's in our Skyward system matches what's in our audit report. So anytime after we finish the audit, we go in and post some adjusting entries if we have them, just to make sure that the systems tie very closely to each other. And then we don't have any issues with internal controls. And then here are just the last several indicators on here. 21 is actually a new one this year, and it is for districts who didn't estimate well, received too much money from the state and have to pay it back, but now have spent it and can't afford to pay it back. So we saw that one come on as districts are kind of struggling with cash flow. 20 is another good one for y'all because we do have to talk about property values with you before we adopt the budget. So that's another requirement that's in there. And I don't think we have any problems meeting that one here in Medina Valley ISD. And so going through all of those, like I said before, we passed the critical indicators. We didn't have any issues with any of the ceiling indicators. We just lost a few points on the debt ratio, which is to be expected for our size district with the large Bond 23 issuance that went out. But overall, still a superior achievement, and we can be fairly proud of that. Just a quick look at the overall statistics in the state. So just to give you an idea, 86% of all school districts ended up with an A or a superior rating. That number is actually significantly less than it has been in the past. Normally you're well over 90%, and I think it is because of some of the cash flow issues districts are facing. And then you kind of see from there. But for the most part, it isn't meant to be a got you. It's meant to just make sure that you are taking care of business and protecting taxpayer money. In your packet, you did have an additional spreadsheet that was disclosures, and so we are required with this report to post the superintendent's contract, which is on our website, and any reimbursements received for y'all. And so you'll see, obviously, these were board members in 22-23, but it is just, it's mostly for TASA TASB or conference travel that you may or may not have attended, and so we have to report those. As far as compensation, gifts, and business transactions, there's nothing there to report. Whoop, went too far. Sorry about that. And so with that, I will take any questions from you all, and then when you're ready, you can open it up for comment.
Yeah, sure. So, Crystal, can you back up a couple slides maybe on the?
Sure. Well, let's see.
Keep going. That one. 18 through.
18.
Was 5 the maximum on 19?
Yeah.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
curious. I
some
saw
of
that.
them are 5 and some are 10 and
I
some
saw
are
that
just a
5.
pass-fail,
Yeah,
and so.
I mean, just for everybody's information, we've always, because we're growing so fast and our property values kind of lag our need to build schools, we've always been, receiving less than 10 on that one indicator. So that's not
Yeah.
new. And then this one, like you said, was a big hit because of the bond that we all took all that new debt on, and the property values hadn't, we hadn't gotten those yet. So, okay. I don't have any more questions. Do you guys? Anyone here, please, if you have questions about it, now's your time to comment on it or ask questions. All right, we're good. Thank you, Ms. Hermish. All right, the next item is student and staff recognition. The first one of those is a district holiday card artwork winners with Dr. Kalos.
Yes, so as the board knows, we have so many talented students spread throughout our school district. We have a couple here tonight that we want to recognize. We did have our annual or yearly holiday artwork contest, right, for our holiday card. And so we do one with our secondary students. That's our students in 6th through 12th grade. And then we do one with our elementary students. And that's our pre-K through 5th grade. And so we have those two winners here tonight. Yeah, you can see the one on the board right now is our secondary winner. And that's a 12th grader, Emma Basinger. Emma, if you would come up here, please. And board, if y'all want to make your way around, we'll take some pictures. And then we also have our elementary contestant winner here tonight, and that is Camila Silva. So Camila, if you could come up as well. Yeah, let's congratulate both of them. So congratulations to both of those students. I see you have some family members here as well, students. Is family here for Camila? Yeah. I know that y'all are very proud, right, of your kids. You should be very proud of them. I mean, they are very talented in their artwork, and you know, obviously, great job in raising them, and we're very proud of them as well. So thank y'all very much. Now, we also have some students and staff here from Lucky Ranch that we're going to recognize as well. So Mr. Ragosa, the principal at Lucky Ranch, come up here and get that started.
Yes, thanks, sir. So Lucky Ranch has recently became nominated or received the Purple Star designation for military families, and our campus a new peer group, and I'm going to let Mr. Palacios discuss more about that here in a minute. So go ahead, Mr. Palacios.
Who are we? LRE. Who are we? LRE. Who are we? LRE. Who are we? LRE. Outstanding. Over. March.
Thank you, Mr. Ragosa, members of the board, Dr. Kalos. As he said, right, we got that Purple Star designation. It has meant so much as a veteran, as a teacher, just inspiring these students to become better citizens. Our club is the Cub Cadets. Who you see in front of you are 5 of the leaders of them. They have shown great initiative, all that hard work in the classroom, during the club, around the school. I couldn't be more proud of them. I am proud to be spearheading this club, and hopefully we can wow y'all. State your name.
First Adolfo, first grade.
What is your warrior ethos?
I will always place the mission first
Why did you want to join Cub Cadets?
because it was a way of showing leadership.
State your name. What is your warrior ethos? What is your warrior ethos? Why did you join Cub Cadets? State your name.
I will Murray, fourth grade.
What is your warrior ethos?
I will never leave a call.
State your name.
Melanie Cox Martinez, fourth grade.
What have we presented?
Eco Warriors.
The warrior ethos. Outstanding. Why did you join Cub Cadets?
Because my dad inspired me to be in the military.
Present arms. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lucky Ranch Elementary Cub Cadets. Arms. I don't want
Yeah.
the man to fall out. Let him fall out. Take some pictures. Fall out.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Palacios.
Yeah. Why don't you get in there and take one with them real quick, sir? Yeah. Mr. Ragosa, why don't you want to come on this end?
Yes. We have a staff member, a special staff member at Lucky Ranch that I'd like to recognize right now, our fifth grade teacher, Miss Amanda Rodriguez. Please come up to the front. So the reason we're recognizing Miss Rodriguez is because, one, she moved in from fourth grade, she moved up to the fifth grade, has shown nothing but the service standards that Medina Valley holds true. Professionalism, I can't be more proud than what she performs at our campus and the dedication that she does for our students. It's seen every day. I'm fortunate I get to see it every day, but the leadership that she's provided for that fifth grade team is outstanding. So it was a real easy choice when I was asked to pick our top teacher, and that's why you're here, ma'am. Thank you for what you do.
All right, now for the boring part. The next item is public comment, and we have no one signed up. So we will move on to announcements, communications, and presentations. The first are our board committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee. Blaine Nash.
All right. Good evening. The Finance Committee last met on November 13th. The committee consists of myself, Nathan Fillinger, and Joe Biediger. The items that we discussed at the last Finance Committee meeting, which seems like we've had a bunch of those, was the revisions to the scorecard, which I think we're gonna look at this evening, and then we looked at a kind of a 5-year plan on district improvements. One of those being the technology plan, what that looks like for the next 5 years, working through that. A mechanical, electrical, HVAC plan for the high school and some other district facilities that are going to need some upgrades to the mechanical systems, kind of what that looks like and what we need to be doing in the next 5 years. And then a bus purchase plan as well, kind of which buses we're going to have to be phasing out over the next 5 years. We talked about the first rating report, which was already presented this evening. And then the purchases, we talked about the payment to City Public Service for high school number 2 electrical, which is on the agenda this evening. And then we also talked about an E-rate purchase, which is also on the agenda this evening for technology. And then we will have a change order, the last change order for the high school turf project, which has already been completed. That's a change order in the positive for the district. And then the final change order to Silos Elementary, which is on the agenda this evening, also a positive change order for the district. And then we had some discussion about the teacher incentive allotment. I know the district sent out a survey and didn't really get a whole lot of participation back on that also. But the general consensus, I think, on that was that we're holding off on that and we'll reevaluate that at a future date. And that was it.
All right, thank you. Next is the Construction Committee with Joe Biediger.
All right, good evening. The Construction Committee met on November 13th as well. Committee members consisted of myself, Blaine Nash, and Matt Castelloni. Items that were discussed, first item was around high school number 2. Following items were discussed in detail around the Yancey updates and where we stand with our agreements with Yancey Water. Next item was the CPS electric service invoice, which we'll discuss later this evening. Also, other items that we discussed and where we stand with are around the stadium upgrades and then the parking upgrades as well. A lot of discussion around that and where funds are going to be coming from for those projects as well. Next item that was discussed also in the Finance Committee was the Medina Valley High School Stadium Turf Project, the Silos Elementary School final change order. Next item that was discussed that's up and coming is the Medina Valley High School Ag and Junior ROTC building. We discussed timeline, when all that needs to start taking place so that we can still meet that end date. And then the next item was around Medina Valley Middle School number 3 and the timeline on that as well, and when we needed to go around, submit requests for bids, get bids back in when we needed to start executing that work. And then the last item, like always, that we always discuss is land, where we stand with certain agreements, and when hopefully we'll move forward on some of those items. That was all we discussed.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Next is the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and I think Mr. Jason Bonney's going to present that tonight.
The Curriculum Committee met on November the 12th, and the committee members are myself and Ms. Campbell. The following items were discussed: the 2025-2026 new course proposals, the MOU with the Alamo College District, and the 8-period day at the high school, the GPA for 8th grade algebra, BESL program evaluation, the blended learning update, the TIA survey, and the District of Innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Bonney. Next is Safety and Security Committee with Mr. Ben Waters.
Good evening. The Safety Committee met on November 12th, 2024. The members consisted of myself, Jenna Campbell, and Nathan Fillinger. Items discussed were the MVISD PD agreement we had with Cashville PD, which was received. Still pending with that agreement is the Cost PD, Medina County Sheriff Department, and Bexar County Sheriff's Department. We discussed the camera systems update, Marshall Training Program update, the SRO updates, and we also talked about the District Safety and Committee upcoming meeting, which agenda is going to be the ISDPD, vulnerability assessments, TEA, Sentinel system, camera system update, the Marshall update, and the
our June 2026 substantial completion. So in terms of site, there's still a lot of work going throughout the site on rough grading. What you see on the bottom left is the secondary practice field. North of that, all the pads have been placed for the baseball field, dugouts, and some of the fencing on the batting cages as well. And that echoes also on the softball field side. Some of the work also that has been completed is the sports lighting on tennis, baseball, and softball as well. Some more site work, and this is just a sample throughout. Curbs are being installed and completed, as well as sidewalks and flat work throughout the site. There's portions where we know there's not going to be much traffic on them. The general contractor is moving forward and installing sidewalks throughout. When it comes to the building, we'll put the drone footage on it. So again, starting on the academic wing, a lot of the building envelope on the academic wing is starting to be completed with storefronts. What you see is the installation of the metal roof on the south or on the back of the building. As of today, though, they started on the front high roofs and standing seam roofs on the building. Handing over to what would be the band hall, auditorium, and all the fine arts and performing arts areas. From last month, all of the decking on the roofing has been completed. All major structural systems are also, or steel structures completed in this project, pending some miscellaneous or entryways, canopies. The only portion that's really missing is what you see on the front of the screen as a low roof, which will be the weight room right off one of the gyms. Another milestone that we hit this month was the placement or the delivery of the 4 chillers to our project site. And as y'all can see, a lot of the building envelope is being completed and going through. One of the items that is still pending is all of the high or second floor metal panels. Those are scheduled to start installation towards the end of January, beginning of February. All right, and then if we can move to some of the interior shots. So this is what it's looking like on the academic side or on the classroom side. There's a lot of finishes going on now. Tile wainscot throughout, first coats of paint, suspended ceiling grid is going on. Pretty much all trades are on hand. They're averaging anywhere from 350 to 380 workers every day, depending on what the trade is. So, again, mechanical infrastructure and exhaust, and then our interior shot of the gym where all the structural and decking is complete. And I'll let Mark speak a little bit on where we're at on inspections.
So we've, with this project ramping up, we actually are doing site visits, observations every 2 weeks, with the help of OCR engineers and Medina Valley Maintenance and myself, and Al Newbergy takes care of the code inspections. It's a very fast-moving project, and we're trying to catch everything that we can.
Any questions on high school too? We're doing all MEP and life safety, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I got to go on a tour last Friday of this, and I mean, the building itself is impressive. I mean, the work that, obviously the architects were there and they know everything about the building, but the contractor, I mean, RT and the other folks are juggling all the trades was very impressive. And you two guys, your knowledge of this thing was, just blew me away, where everything was at. And I just want you to know that's appreciated, because it's pretty overwhelming when you get in there and see all those trades working at one time like that, you know. So, and everything looks great, to be honest with you. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the financial briefing with Ms. Hermish.
So this is your October financial briefing, and from just the executive summary, you can kind of see that as far as 199 and the general fund budget goes, that we are pretty well on target, as we would expect for being 2 months into the fiscal year. Right there at a little above on the revenue collections, and then sitting right at, for 2 months, you'd expect to be between 16 and 17% spent, and that's right where we are. On food service, our September payment hadn't quite made it by the close of the month, and that's usually around $400,000 to $450,000 a month, and so that it just sometimes with TDA it just comes in a little late, so we'll collect that here in the next month and have that on there. But again, pretty well sitting at where we would expect to be for expenditures at this time. On your debt service fund, we're obviously not collecting taxes yet, so we'll start to see some movement in there here in the next Next month or so, everyone hopefully started to receive tax statements. Usually they get mailed out around the 1st of November. So now you know this is when it starts happening. I did want to share that we received our INS hold harmless payment. We talk about that from the state for the 100K exemption and the frozen levy loss. So we did get that on Monday. So 3.5 million or so, or just under that, went into the INS account. And why that's important is we are getting ready to make that first defeasance payment here in December. And so that puts, I think that payment's just under 9 million. And so having that 3.5 go in there will help us get that defeasance payment made. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of the finances. Obviously, the next, whoops, did I do that? That's okay, I thought maybe it's me. The next couple pages that you see just break it down by fund and function, and you have just a quick snapshot there of our anticipated fund balance and what our 3-month operating cash flow would look like. And so, again, really for all 3 statements, we're sitting where we would expect to be for 2 months in. Scott, if you want to go down to the bond, just after one more. One more. Thank you. So bond 23, we did make adjustments in our last special meeting to allocate funds for middle school 3 and the police department. And so you see those funds allocated in there so that we'll be able to track where we are with those projects. And so this just kind of gives you an idea of what that will look like as we start moving forward. And then below, we also put the 15 million that's allocated towards future debt payment in there. And so you see that allocated as well, so that really what we have is 8.2 million in bond interest that's above and beyond what we've already allocated. So you kind of will get a good snapshot of that. The other piece that I wanted to mention, not necessarily a slide for it, but we did do the Bond 24 first issuance this morning, and so Ms. Campbell and Mr. Castelloni got to be there to watch our bids come in. We did end up with 12 bidders, which is really impressive. Usually, I think anything around 5 or 6 would have been great for competition, but receiving 12 was really good. Raymond James ended up being our lowest interest rate or winning bidder, and we ended up with a true interest cost of 3.98%. I don't think any of us were expecting it to hit under 4, so we were really, really happy with that. And so the team from Mr. Quiroga and Specialized Public Finance, as well as Clay on his work, and on everyone, there's probably 12 or 13 people on those emails that are getting everything closed and taken care of. So a good team effort from everyone here, as well as the people that we work with on the outside to help us through this. We should close on December 18th, right before the holiday break. And so hopefully in January, you'll have another bond at worksheet here that we'll be working on. And so we're excited to get that going as well. And with that, I'll take any questions that y'all have.
So, yeah, just to talk a little bit more about this morning, because it was a learning experience for me. We were able to do a competitive bid this time on the bond sale as opposed to a negotiated sale, which we've done in the past. And it sounds like when you sell the smaller amounts, smaller bond sale amounts, like this one was 11.2 million, it's easier to find people that will participate in a competitive bid. When they do the larger ones, they gotta really make sure they have enough investors on board for stuff like that. So, but the competitive bid thing worked really well. I mean, there was a big range there of interest rates, and Victor's team was impressive. I mean, as soon as he clicked the button, I guess everyone at the office was working on documentation, and they had it done like that. So it was a machine. It was kind of impressive to watch. So It was really, really neat.
It was pretty good. You get about like the bids are due at 9 a.m. and at 8:55 you have zero, and so you're like, hey, this is, but they all roll in really fast. For some of us that are a little more anxious,
Yeah.
it was fun to watch all of those roll in,
Yeah.
and it's also good to see who's interested in working with Medina Valley ISD in the future as we
Yeah, and
move
the
forward with
winner
more
this
issues.
time, the person, they've bought bonds from us in the past, I believe, right? Correct,
Correct.
Raymond James? Yeah.
They have,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
They assisted us on the on the 23 bond.
And some of it is like, in your smaller issuances, it does open it up to a lot more competition because some of your smaller banks can get in there and work on that. When you do have a really big one, then it is going to shrink your pool to some of your bigger banks, and that's where you get some good rates. And so overall, I think everyone was really happy with how everything came out today, and so it's one more thing towards getting going with Bond 24. So good day.
Any more questions? Thank you, Ms. Hermish. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent briefing with Dr. Kalos.
Okay, so the first slide there, you will see that our Medina Valley Education Foundation recently awarded about 24 of our teachers throughout the district teacher grants. And so they did a prize patrol where we had some cheerleaders and our drum line involved, and we'd go to each campus and do some cheering and really make a big deal out of awarding these grants to our teachers. So it was a great day, and we had some excited teachers. We had some tears that were shed as well throughout the day. So our teachers are very appreciative of stuff like this, and so I just want to compliment our Education Foundation on all the hard work that they do. They're volunteers. They don't get paid to do this, but they awarded about $28,000 total to our teachers, and so very appreciative. Thank you for all that they do. Next slide, we have our football team. As y'all know, this is our first year in 6A competition for our athletics, and our football team was recently listed in the top 10 San Antonio football rankings, and so very proud of them and the year that they had. Next slide, you will see we had a student in our high school, Alexander Adams, who had a perfect score on the PSAT. And as most of y'all are aware, that is very hard to do. Not too many students throughout the nation can accomplish that. So we're very proud of him, and great work by our high school. Next slide, we recently had a mini medics camp, and we had great participation in this. Our CTE department and teachers put this event on. We ended up with a waiting list because we only had so many spots. So they've decided to do some more of these camps throughout the school year so that we can get all of these kids involved. So that was a great success, and I know they plan on doing more things like this moving forward. Next slide, we met with our we've been meeting with our students, Student Advisory Council. You can see there, they're doing some team building activities. It's a great group. Mr. Lange's doing a great job in leading this group. And just recently, I know we've provided the board some information on our discipline matrices that we are developing for our elementaries and our secondary schools. And so this last meeting, Mr. Lange got input from our students as far as what this matrix should look like. So we continue to work with those students to get input from them. We want to hear their voices as well. Their voice is important. Our next slide, we recently did our second Bond Dollars at Work video, and so we updated our community on where we are with the 23 bond, right, and the start of our 24 bond. You know, a big part of that was the junior ROTC/ag building that we're about to start. You know, we got this project started a little bit later because we wanted to make sure, as we plan on where to put this at Medina Valley High School, that it fit into our long-term master plan for that high school. And so we went through that process. We think we've got the right place for it now. You can see where we're going to put it by this picture. It's going to go where those current portables are on the back side of the campus. And so we're excited to get that project started as well as continue to move forward with the other projects. Next slide, Veterans Day. Everybody knows recently we had Veterans Day. Our campuses did an outstanding job of recognizing our veterans in the community. And so each campus had, a special little event that they put on for those veterans. And so we're just very thankful for our veterans and all that they do for us in our country and allowing us the freedoms that we have. As we've mentioned in the past, our campuses are also doing a great job of recognizing some of our outstanding staff. And so they did their Employees of the Month for November recently. And I see we have some blank names on there, so we will update that and make sure that we have all the names listed, right, for each campus. And just...
I think it's updated here.
Oh, I'm sorry, on mine, I'm on the wrong one. I don't have that updated one. And then lastly, our district enrollment. You can see, I think last month at our board meeting, we were just under 9,600 kids, and now we're just over 9,600 kids, so we're growing slowly. Right, we're still growing, but it's slowed down a little bit. But we will continue to monitor that and see where we are as far as enrollment. Any questions from board members? It was right at 9450, yeah, about.
Yeah, we've exceeded our projection.
Yeah, we have. We're over projected. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, the next item is the NVISD scorecard presentation with Dr. Kalos.
Yes, so we will, so this is our second year of implementation with the scorecard, right? So as we continue to grow with this, we're going to make adjustments, right? As we see what's working, what isn't working, or how can we make this even better. And so we've been working on some adjustments to the scorecard over the last few weeks, last few months. Had some conversations with our board, had a workshop, and we've also had some conversations in committees with the board. And so we're here tonight to present the revisions to the board, so to speak. We're not going to go into details because we've done that in committees, but just kind of a big overview of the whole scorecard and what we want to do with that moving forward. So we'll start with Ms. Hendricks, and remember we have 4 priorities, right? Students, staff, community, and finance and operations. Right, so that's our 4 goals or 4 areas that we really want to focus on. So Ms. Hendricks has our students.
Yes, so good evening. My priority is every student grows every year. And so we really did not change anything in the first 3 columns. We changed out some verbs from like implement because we've already implemented, so we changed to strengthen. But what we focused on in our revision is the long-term outcomes. So during the workshop, we had talked about setting specific goals for our students. So we pretty much did that. If you look at that last column, our STAR growth measure, we put some goals in place to make sure that our students were growing every year, both in reading and math. And then MAP growth, the MWEA MAP program is very important to everything that we're doing in our classrooms and making sure that our students are growing every year. So we have also a growth projection for that, a goal 49 to 65 and 48 to 65 by 2027 on reading and math. And then we also looked at achievement, and we have a percentage of our kids that are below the 20th percentile, and we want to decrease that. So we set some goals from 16.7% to 10% by 2027 in math, and then 17.3 to 10% in reading by 2027. The next category is our CCMR, and we talked a lot about increasing our SAT, ACT performance, and especially participation, because right now the participation is low due to COVID, where they didn't require that test. So we put some standards in place to increase both the scores and the participation, and then also our TSIA results for the last several years, we have been able to use our star scores to qualify kids for dual credit. That is no longer going to be an option for us, so we really need to focus on TSIA. So we put some things in place, and then the big one is the CTE completer. So we're wanting to really get our kids into the programs of study so that they start in level 1 classes, they go to level 2, they complete their level 3 and 4 classes, and then they also get their industry-based certification. And that completer status right now is at 29.3, because a lot of our kids are taking CT classes as electives rather than a coherent sequence. And so we want to increase that to 50% by 2027. The next category is safety and well-being, and basically on this, we're focusing on our discipline referrals at the elementary and the secondary campuses, a reduction in that, and then also increasing our attendance rate from 94%, which is what it currently is, to 96% by 2027. And then when we talk about extracurricular, we really did struggle in finding a measure that, you know, we want to increase participation, but we want to make sure it matters and it's good participation and quality programs. So this is what we came up with, but we're always looking for input on how we can measure that more closely. But summary presentation on existing and new programs and the accolades that they get. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Kalos. So mine is on recruitment and retention. And we did cover, as you see, every 2 weeks, we give you an update on where we are on vacancies. So right now we have a couple of teachers that we are vacant and actively searching for. And that's due to spouses getting relocated, which opened up those positions. But I know Tiffany's here. We are, I think, are completely staffed or had the last few recommendations come in. So all of our food service is full. And I do believe our last custodian was hired too, so we're full everywhere and in all of our areas. But we're going to keep you updated on this on an annual basis. We also want to continue to keep you abreast on our fill rate on substitutes. And I know one thing that was asked of the board is you want to know tenure by department, so that will be updated every year. I can't update it throughout the year because of the change, but we will get you a report so you know tenure by every campus and department. And professional development, I know we're looking at increasing from our aspiring leaders, working those into actual leadership positions for next year. And we want to go from 5 to 10. We want to maintain our percentage of our teachers continuing employment. Last year, as you know, we were 33 of our 35 new teachers, brand new teachers retained. Two decided to say it wasn't for them, but we'll keep you updated on that, along with all of our tenure again for all of our campuses to keep you abreast of that.
All right, for our fostering an environment of parental and community involvement, again, just kind of big picture summary, but that first one, improving our community-wide relationships, we're going to continue to do that through several groups, but those mentioned in the scorecard, community ambassador program, meeting with realtors, home builders, as well as that military connected plan. One that is new in this section, a new objective, is creating a best practices guide for district and campus parent engagement events. We just want to create some standards there that'll be consistent across all of our campuses so we can make sure we're welcoming our families and just continuing to build those relationships. We want to measure all of that through increasing attendance at events, as well as that survey data that we gather from our families and just seeing how satisfied they are with that throughout the year. 3.2, informing all stakeholders with up-to-date campus and district news announcements. Again, kind of where we're looking at increase in a lot of those areas engagement-wise and numbers-wise. So Parent Square, increasing our engagement this year of that tool, as well as growing our alumni program, continuing to add members there, and increasing video production. You guys saw the Bond Dollars at Work video. That's just one of many series, but continuing to increase some of those things so that we can continue to just engage our community and make sure they're up to date. And then lastly, customer service. Again, at the beginning of the meeting, talked about service standards. That's actually one of the objectives here under 3.3. But we also want to make sure we're continuing our biannual surveys. We've just gone through that first round of fall surveys here for our parents and our students. We'll have a survey staff when we get back from break. But maintaining those, trying to increase the participation in those surveys, how many people are actually taking them so we get the most accurate data. And also just providing training to our staff and trying to, again, use those surveys to see how much of an impact we're having in these areas. Any questions? Good. All right. Yes.
The dissemination of information, the videos, I mean, there's a ton of positive feedback from the community on that stuff. So I personally have noticed a drastic increase in all of that information being sent out, just as a parent, not just as a board member. So kudos to whoever's pushing that and running that.
Well, thank you so much. That's our team. I can't take credit for it.
I think that goes a long way to show that we're trying to communicate best we can.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening. On 4.1 on taking a proactive approach and role for planning for a rapidly growing population, what we're focusing on is 4.1.4, which is what came out of our work session, which is the development of a continuity plan for all of our new facilities. As we're fastly growing, there's a lot of coordination that needs to be done internally with departments in terms of purchases to really equip the campus and be ready for students to take that seat and teachers ready to teach. So really creating a checklist directly tied to a schedule, right? And that's also going to have to be coordinated with our general contractor. Every project is scheduled different. So just maintaining our own Medina Valley departments updated and when things are needed to bring to the board for purchases, whether it's technology, books, furniture, and whatnot. So that's our focus for this next year in developing that continuity plan. Any questions on that?
Okay, and then 4.2 is your financial stewardship and clear communication with all stakeholders. And so, as you saw today, we did the first rating, and so some of our metrics there, just ensuring that we are still meeting that superior rating on our first rating, as well as unqualified opinions in our audit report. We'll also start budget process here in December, and so you all will receive budget calendar, and we'll start planning for next year, really at the same time you get the audit. So we're always in 2 years. We keep it fun like that. And then we are, with this year, especially with the legislative session, going to gear a lot more training on our principals and start early and communicating with all of our principals and department directors on school finance and how some of the things passing through the legislature would impact Medina Valley ISD. And so I think that will help at any time as we're talking through anything related to future bond issues or the reasons why we do certain things. And then we're going to work again on earning some transparency stars and ensuring that we are keeping that transparent communication with the public. And that's just one way to kind of show that we're moving that direction.
So if you look at that last section on the right side, the first one and that third one, 4.3.1 and 4.3.2.2, kind of revolve around those long-term plans that we've been presenting. I know we've had pretty much, I want to say every department, right? Like a 5-year plan. So making sure that we're looking at those and putting those into place within our timelines and within our budget. The second and the fourth really revolve around work order systems, and we have our maintenance department and our technology trying to define what success means in that category. So we've got some goals there and that'll allow us to analyze that, and then at the end of the year, decide whether we need to adjust or whether we're doing a good job with customer service. The 4.3.1, our outcome, obviously, and the next one revolve around the bond and grant projects. So obviously, our goal is to have those cameras and that badge access projects done by the start of next school year, and looks like we're still on pace to do that, so that's good news. And then the last two revolve around our kind of our hybrid new law enforcement model. So we've set some goals for marshals, prioritize what we'd like them to be certified in by the end of the school year. And then, of course, we've had a lot of discussion recently, right, around the PD department, and we want to be fully functional by fall of next year. Questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. The next item will be the review of House Bill 3 Board Goals and Objectives for Early Childhood Literacy and Mathematics Proficiency Plans with Ms. Hendricks.
Okay, so I'm going to go super fast on this. In 2019, with the passage of House Bill 3, we set literacy, math, and CCMR goals. So it was 2019. So it was prior to COVID. It was prior to the state changing the entire test, prior to the accountability changing. But, oh, I have it. Here we go. But, so our goals, this was the early childhood goal, and of course there was no data in 2020 because that was COVID. We set a new baseline. We were going pretty good, almost meeting our goal in 2023. It looked pretty good, and then we went up in 2024. That is when they changed the test format and the accountability, so we did not meet our goal. It's 46. I don't know how this keeps changing. We changed it. Yeah, 50.45%, and we changed it twice, and it still keeps going like that. Anyway, so we did not reach the goal. I am much more comfortable with the goals we set in our scorecard than I am with these because there's been so much change since then. But it is required for us to, this will be the last year, but it was required for us to present on them for 5 years. So that is why we were here. In math, same thing. We were meeting our goal last year. We even exceeded the goal, and then this year with the change in the test, it went down again. And then on CCMR, I think it was kind of crazy to have a 100% goal for CCMR anyway, because not everybody is going to get that, especially in a fast growth district where we have kids that are moving in their junior and senior year and they're not having the same opportunities that we are. But we will get that. Last year we were 91.8%, which was really good compared to the districts around us. So I think we're really on the right track in that. But again, I like our scorecard goals that we set now much better than these. Do y'all have any questions on these?
Like I said, you turn this on. What was the state average on, I mean, I know there was a decline from scores from 23 to 24, but I saw that we have a decrease on both of our reading and math scores. Where do we fall? I know they changed the scoring mechanism, so the comparable would be, what did the other districts
Yeah,
see?
we were still above the state average. Our gap between the state average and us did decrease, but we were still above the state average in both math and reading. I think there was one grade level or maybe one campus that was close, but you saw a considerable drop across the board. Another place you saw it really big from even in 2022 on the CCMR, we were like 10, 15 points above a lot of the schools around us. So, I think we're doing great. Do we have work to do in our classrooms? Absolutely. But I think as far as, taking a goal that you set 5 years ago and then with all the changes, I just don't think it's a good measure of where we are. I think our goals would have been different had we known that the test was going to change and all of that stuff. But anything else?
Is all that still in court on the changes for the
Accountability.
Accountability,
Yes.
Yeah, they had an update last week, a hearing, or maybe early this week, this has been a long week, maybe early this week, where they heard arguments, but they didn't make any decision, so we're all still in limbo. Even the 2020, they're contesting 2024, we still don't have 2023 accountability ratings, so it's a mess.
Yeah, and they're using AI to grade written stuff. It's crazy to me, but yeah, I like our goals too. I mean, there's other tests out there that let us know how we're doing for college readiness. SAT, ACT, I mean, ASVAB, there's all kind of tests that we all agree on, think do a better job of assessing our students, so.
And we're currently using MAP. Even in junior high, you can have predictions on how you'll do on SAT, ACT, TSIA. And so we're actually meeting with students and using those for the students to set goals. And so it's a powerful tool. So
Yeah.
I like where we are.
I do got a question. I noticed in one of the third grades, we dropped 10 points. Is that strictly due to the change of the test, or are there other factors that have weighed in?
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of factors. The fact that we've grown by 1,000 kids a year definitely has an impact on, they're not getting the same, pre-K through 2 instruction that the other kids that have been here are. So, I mean, that's a factor. The change in the format of the test is, I think, important because it shows the change that we need to have in our classrooms as well. But, we were taking a multiple choice test for the last, I don't know, since when I was teaching and we were doing the TOS test and then the TAKS test, it's always been multiple choice. So for the first time in, since the 90s when we started doing all of this, maybe even earlier than that, we have drag and drop, we have constructed responses, we have all of this stuff, and our kids, haven't been tested in that way in a long time. So, I mean, ever on standardized testing. So I think the response was not as strong as we want it to be, but it also is good for our classrooms because we want our kids to be tested in multiple ways. We want them to be able to think in more than 4 choices. So I think it's a good thing. I just think we have to give our teachers and our kids a chance to adjust.
With all the implementations of the new programs as MAP, do you see these scores jumping higher? Do you see a percentage? Is there a goal from where we were last year to this year in the percentage?
Yes, so I went over it in the
It's a
scorecard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and we have STAR growth measure increases, goals, and then we also have MAP goals.
Yeah.
So,
I'll add this. So Ms. Hendricks noted that our scores and the state scores, right, the gap between those two is closed, right, in a negative way for us, right? And so we have presented that information to our principals, and our principals have responded. And the principals have presented that information to the teachers, and the teachers have responded. From the standpoint of, I think everybody understands that, hey, we've been doing some great things here, but we're getting more diverse, we're getting different kids, which means we've got to do some things differently, right? What worked necessarily even 5 years ago doesn't necessarily work now with kids. And that's just kids in general, not necessarily because we're getting different kids, but kids are just changing the way they learn, right? And so I think our teachers we do walkthroughs, and we go into classrooms every Thursday morning. And, we can tell a difference from last year to this year in the type of instruction that is happening in a lot of those classrooms. But that's not going to change overnight. Things will not change. This is a process. It's going to take 2 or 3 years for us, for everybody to really get a good handle on some of these different ways of teaching kids and instruction. And so I think with that, we're moving in the right direction, but it's not going to happen overnight. But the positive is when your staff sees, all right, yeah, we need to start looking at doing some things differently. That's the first step. If you don't get that, then nothing's going to change, right? So I think we're moving in the right direction with all of it.
Jason, I had saw some of that too, and I asked about it. Some of it was related to those kids during the COVID years. That was like critical time for them on
Exactly.
reading comprehension and stuff. And now having to catch those kids back up is the reason we're seeing
And that's why I
at those certain
mentioned it.
grade levels,
I
you
know
know,
COVID put a lot of students behind.
way
1
behind.
years, 2
On
years.
specifically on like reading comprehension
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, like the kids that were in first grade during that year and received virtual instruction, I mean, you cannot, you use so much of your mouth when you're teaching kids how to read, you know, with the sounds and how you make the sounds. And, you know, you can only do so much of that through a computer screen, so.
Exactly. Thank you, Brandy.
Mhm. Anything else? Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, the next one is our bilingual program update with Miss Dovalina. Did I say that right? Correct. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. President, Dr. Kalos, and Board of Trustees. So per Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 89, supporting our special population of emergent bilinguals, all local education agencies must report on the bilingual and ESL program for the previous year in the fall of the following year. So this information that I will briefly go over is supporting the 23-24 academic year. There we go. So I will briefly go over our emergent bilingual numbers for 23-24, just a quick rundown of the progress on STAR, our TELPAS progress, which is our English Language Proficiency Assessment System, information, reclassification numbers of our students who are identified as emergent bilinguals, professional development that was offered, information on the bilingual exception and ESL waiver, and then finally, just a quick rundown on our action plan that we've already started for the 24-25 school year. So assessed with us for 23-24 were 698 identified emergent bilinguals, 327 participating in the bilingual program, 312 participating in the ESL program, that is elementary and secondary combined. Bilingual program, of course, only concentrated at the elementary campuses. Denial of services, we had 23 denials for the bilingual program and overall 36 denials, parental denials for the ESL program. So just a real quick rundown of our STAR and of course data for our emergent bilingual population. Just culminating the information, or the data for grades 3rd through 5th, for reading language arts, 76% passing, 72% passing in math. We see that 52% passing in science, and you see the rest of the data as you go into the secondary grades. And as we were previously discussing with Ms. Hendricks, it is doing things differently, and the data really spelling out how we need to support our teachers with additional training, especially when it comes to academic vocabulary. Those specific English language acquisition strategies or second language acquisition strategies supporting our emergent bilinguals. As Dr. Kalos mentioned, we are a more diversified community as well. We have lots of newcomers coming in as well, so we do have to do things quite a bit differently than was done in the past. When we look at our Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment System, data for spring of 2024. So the green section there is an increase in the composite proficiency rating. Our students are rated in their English language proficiency as a beginner, intermediate, advanced, and/or advanced high. The blue section is no composite rating change. So if a student received an advanced composite rating with their listening, speaking, reading, and writing, there was no change from spring 23 to spring 20. Of those 69 students had no change in their composite rating. And then we know what that red section looks like. So we're doing pretty good. We see our numbers up there in the green and the blue, but of course, we want to get those numbers up. From the blue, we want it all in the green. We want to have that year's composite growth from one rating to the next. Okay. Reclassification. So these are students who are in their first year monitor status for 24-25 because they met reclassification criteria at the end of the 23-24 school year. Last year we had less than 10. The state did change the reclassification criteria for the 23-24 school year, allowing more of our emergent bilinguals to reclassify. So one of the changes was that composite rating on the TELPAS assessment, whereas students had to score an advanced high in each of the language domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Now they shall score an advanced high composite. So really, they can score two advanced ratings in two language domains and two advanced high ratings in another two language domains. Okay. Professional development that was offered. We offered monthly bilingual and ESL meetings. That was offered to our elementary bilingual teachers and our elementary and secondary ESL teachers. We had Satellites Education, one of our contractors, come and deliver the professional development, which was 7 steps to a language-rich interactive environment that was catered specifically to bilingual and secondary ESL teachers throughout the school year. We're proud to have brought the Estrellita company to focus on Spanish phonics, specifically for our bilingual teachers at our bilingual hubs, and at those grade levels were pre-kinder through first grade. We really listened to the survey that our teachers completed in the springtime. So the summer sessions that were offered in June of 2024 focused on English language proficiency standards, creating language objectives to go along with content objectives, focusing on the cultural and social emotional needs of our emergent bilinguals. We offered that 7 steps professional development again, and we had quite a good turnout for that. I also had offered were LPAC trainings, and those that it's basically focused on policy. Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 89. Any teacher who serves an emergent bilingual shall serve on that committee when those students are being discussed, and they have to go through that training on an annual basis. We had the Texas number 154 ESL supplemental certification training support offered in the summertime, as well as additional Estrellita Spanish phonics professional development. For the 23-24 school year, Medina Valley ISD was in no need to file an exception, a bilingual exception, or an ESL waiver. For this year, I do want to share, we have submitted a bilingual exception and an ESL waiver in order to support our ESL program on all of the elementary campuses. With the establishment of our bilingual hubs, we now need to ensure that our students qualifying for the ESL program are being supported at all campuses. We are coded as an ESL content-based model, meaning all teachers who deliver core content area instruction to an emergent bilingual must be ESL certified. So that puts us at 1 teacher on the bilingual exception and 33 on the ESL waiver. It seems high because we do departmentalize at the upper elementary grades. So all of those teachers, if an EB has 4 teachers for those content areas, those 4 teachers must be ESL certified. We are looking at a goal of a 25% reduction, so we're looking at about 10 individuals who will attempt that assessment and pass. Okay. Our action plan for this year, as you all know, we have established our 2 bilingual hubs. They are running very well. Transportation services has been going very well. I do want to compliment the LPAC coordinators at our elementary campuses. They are doing a phenomenal job, which are our vice principals as well, doing a phenomenal job of going through the identification process as quickly as possible, and within law, within compliance, to be able to get our students who qualify for the bilingual program into our bilingual hubs as soon as possible, so they do not lose any of that Spanish instruction that they may need. We are having our bilingual hub meetings just to discuss implementation of the bilingual program. We are going through the implementation rubric provided by the state of Texas. The more feedback and information we have, the better we will be at our program. We have designated ESL certified coordinators on our elementary campuses. Okay. Any questions?
Actually, just seeing this, there's a lot I'd like to learn more about this program. Do Team of 8 training or stuff like that, if this is a topic that would, I mean, this is not something we discuss often, so, just to learn more about it and, all of the criteria for, reallocate, or not reallocation, reassignment and things like that, how that works and all that stuff. I mean, I could ask questions for 30 minutes about this. I don't want to do that to you right here, but maybe a committee meeting or something.
We can do it through committee, or we can do it,
Committee.
we can do a workshop.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
tied to some type of
because also we want to make sure that our bilingual hub system is working the way that we thought it was by combining resources and see if that's something we want to continue over the long term. But yeah, there's a lot of, I know we're getting more and more students every day that, are ESL, students and just to see, data on that, how many are coming in older where they're already in high school and just now learning English versus staying in the program the whole time.
Right, and we do have, with the going above and beyond, using our Title III funding, so our students come in, they're provided with an iPad, they're provided with a time kettle, translation device, they have academic vocabulary readily available in their native language, just to ensure that they do have access to their primary language as they are being taught.
Yeah, because it's more than just
English.
Spanish now.
But it's, exactly,
yeah.
exactly, yeah. We have Russian, I just took care of a Russian scenario today, and yes, many, many more languages.
Yeah, I knew it was more, a lot more than what we're traditionally used to in Texas, so.
Correct.
It'd be interesting to learn about all that.
We do have a spot on our curriculum committee.
Well, I'd be glad.
If you'd like
No,
to.
I'll definitely do that. Yeah, I mean.
And that's why we,
Okay, I'm in. Sign me up.
but that
Miss
was the goal
Hendricks,
with the,
look,
with the
she's got a
newcomer
big old
committee.
smile. Oh, she's so happy now.
Yes.
She's got 3 board members on her committee.
But yes, with that newcomer committee, because of those changes and our emergent bilingual population changing and becoming so diverse, we saw the need, we need to do something. We can't do the same thing, because you're correct. It is, the other language is not only Spanish anymore.
Yeah, we could do curriculum committee. I mean, I don't want to force you guys to do something. I just find it fascinating, really.
I look forward to
I mean, I
having
didn't
you
realize, I mean, we're talking about over 600 students. I mean, it's a big percentage of our, our enrollment, so.
We're at 795 as of today.
Wow.
Altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's only going to grow.
Yeah, I correct. I
got
mean,
a
I can
question,
see.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
I've been a huge supporter of this from the very beginning, like advocating it. And when it first came about, there was a lot of concerns from the parents, all over the district, but especially from my district. And some of it was founded. The questions asked, some of it was just out there, just trying to grasp at straws. Since the implementation of it to now, have this been a very successful program? Have the parents who have decided to send their kids happy, those parents who decide not to and have brought their kids back, what is the overall reaction from the parents itself? Not just from us, because we know what it's about, but what do the parents say? How are their kids acting? How are they learning?
So I can personally say, when I visited the hubs, for example, when I've been at La Costa Hub, the kids are thriving. They are happy. There was a situation where at one point, and I know you asked about the parents, but it's important to share about what the students are saying. Some of the students, they're just excited to get off the bus and enter their bilingual hub. And they've said, and they've communicated to me as well, we don't want to go back over there, which is to their zone campus. We want to stay here. So they are very excited. The teachers are excited. They're happy because of the environment. Especially at the lower grades where they can deliver instruction in that primary language solely to their emergent bilinguals. We did have some parents who initially denied bilingual services and chose ESL, but they saw the difficulty that their students were having at their zone campus, so they reconsidered, and they are now back at a bilingual hub. I did overhear, well, not overhear, I was involved in a conversation on the phone with a parent. And from that parent, she just complimented that bilingual hub and everything that the teacher was doing. And that parent really specified how the student had changed from participating in the zone campus and ESL versus participating in that bilingual program, knowing that her student really needs that Spanish support. It was a wonderful phone call that we had. So overall, aside from, some logistics here and there when it comes to the transportation, when students are initially going to start with us, but that gets ironed out fairly quickly. Overall, the impression is phenomenal, and it seems to be working. We spoke during curriculum committee, once we see our students moving into 4th and 5th grade, to see how they transition into that language, because if they are delivered that instruction in their primary language, they know how to think in that first language first, so they're able to apply it as they transition into English. So I'm dying to see the results as well, just like you, so.
Yeah, and
thank you
time,
for
time will
asking.
tell with the data, right?
Exactly.
With the parents who have declined their services to come here, have we attempted to reach out with these positive reports from people who have denied but have gone in to give them a report? Because there was a lot of concern. 23 people decided not to. Have we tried to reach out to them like, hey, we have to see, the school year's done almost, getting close to it, and here's the results, the positive results, to help bring that student so there is not that learning gap from the ESL and the bilingual hub. I think that would be beneficial to help get those kids in.
Right, and I just had a discussion with a campus administrator today. We're actually going to team up, and we're going, aside from the general parent-family engagement series and activities that are coming up in the springtime, we do want to target our parents and just educating again what the bilingual program is, how it all starts. How do we identify an emergent bilingual? What does that mean? What is the bilingual program? What are the benefits? Go ahead. Right. Right, yeah. Okay. Great. Good, thank you so much.
All right, next is, you guys need a break? Are you good? Take a break before close? Okay. All right, discussion and possible action items. The first is consider approval of minutes for the regular board meeting on October 28th, 2024, and 3 special meetings on November 4th, 2024. Dr. Kalos.
So the minutes for the regular board meeting on October 28th, 2024, and the 3 special meetings on November the 4th, 2024 have been reviewed and are presented for approval.
All right, anybody have any questions related to those minutes? All right, then I'll look for a motion.
I, Jason Bonney, move to approve the board minutes for the October 28th, 2024 regular meeting and the 3 special meetings on November 4th, 2024 as presented.
All right. Seconds?
I, Joe Biediger, second the motion.
All right. I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. All right, the next item is consider approval of a memorandum of understanding between Medina Valley ISD's Police Department and Castroville's Police Department. Mr. Hupkey.
Yes, sir. What you have before you is a memorandum of understanding for us to enter into an interlocal or a MOU with the City of Castroville for overlapping jurisdiction and communication services. So it would be between Castroville PD and the soon-to-be-formed Medina Valley ISD PD. So the MOU has been vetted by us, by the city, and it contains language that's been approved by TCOL.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Ben Wattis move to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Castroville Police Department as presented.
All right, second.
Jenny Campbell, second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hupkey. All right, the next item is consider approval of the amendment of the 2024-2025 compensation plan with the creation of the new position of Chief of Police, Mr. McGurrow.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President, board members. We're coming to you tonight to officially get the police chief approved and to place him on our compensation. So we do have furnished you a job description for them and also a salary range. So we did a TASB study of surrounding districts from students of 5,000 to 20,000, and we feel it best fits on pay grade 4, which is roughly between 83,000 and 118,000. It does put us in place with some surrounding districts with pay towards the chief of police.
How does that value correspond to what we had looked at in the budget when we talked about that? Was that pretty much in line with?
It is. I'm trying to remember the range, but it was around that 90 to about 115, I think, in the range.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you. All right. Any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I, Blaine Nash, move to approve the amendment to the 2024-2025 compensation plan with the creation of the new position of Chief of Police as presented.
All right, second.
I, Joe Biediger, second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, members voted for and the motion carries, excuse me. All right, the next item on the agenda is consider adoption of a resolution for a one-time retention incentive of $750 for employees that were full-time prior to October 25th, 2024, and do not separate service prior to May 30th, 2025. Dr. Kalos.
Yeah, so a little background before I turn it over to Mr. McGurrow. You know, as a board, if you recall, over last spring and into this summer, we were developing our budget for this school year. Part of that discussion was compensation for employees. We had a workshop over the summer where we discussed, in particular, the compensation for employees. And so in that conversation, you know, the discussion ranged from a 2% to a 4% pay raise for our employees. And with the lower percentage, you know, the thought was, okay, do a lower percentage with a retention incentive added to that, or do the higher 3 or 4% and then get the school year started, see where we are with our, in particular, our enrollment and our attendance rate, right? And if those come back higher than what we budgeted for, you know, consider coming back and doing some type of retention incentive for our employees. So as mentioned earlier, you know, our enrollment is higher than what we projected. Our attendance rate is higher than what we budgeted for. So we feel like, you know, we're in a position where we can offer our employees a retention incentive for multiple reasons, right? Yeah. One of them is that we want to reward them. We want to let them know how much we appreciate all their hard work, all their dedication to the district and to our students. And so this is a great way to show that and it gives them a little boost going into the holiday season here too as well. So I know in conversations with our board is completely on board with this, right? And we appreciate that. I know our employees appreciate that as well. So with that, Mr. McGurr, you want to go into a little bit of the details of how this would work?
Yeah, so they would have to be employed with us by snapshot, which was the October 25th date, and stay employed with us through the end of the academic school year, which is May 30th. Roughly, right now, that's 1,257 employees.
Okay.
So if they do separate with us prior to the May 30th day, we will recoup those funds upon separation.
Yeah, that was my question. If we're
Yes.
gonna cut, we're gonna send this out now and then?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it'll be a separate check, so all of them know that they got all the retention. It wouldn't come with their normal monthly or bi-monthly checks. It'll be a separate check.
Yep. All right.
I do want to add this one thing. So, board members, you know how school budgets, you know, they're very fluid, right? Numbers are not set in stone. So, as we get to the end of this fiscal year, we'll have to see where we are with adjusted revenues and expenditures. And if we're in a situation where our expenditures are more than our revenue, then we would have to dip into our fund balance to help fund this, right? To help pay for this.
But so far exceeding our ADA and our attendance rates, it looks like we're okay with this. I mean, this was that part in the crystal ball that we couldn't tell when we did the workshop, but we know a little more now, so.
We are. It's still early in the year.
Yeah.
And so you never know how things are gonna completely work out with state certified values and some of those other elements. But right now, as far as ADA and attendance, we are sitting 120 or more students above where we projected and sitting at about 2% more than what we projected or used for budget for attendance.
And I'll just add to that real quick. I mean, we've already done some budget amendments, you know, where we've increased some funds to some functions already. So ultimately, you know, we hope that our ADA and all that, but at the end of the day, I think this decision is based upon, you know, the budget workshop and what we kind of said we were going to do to take care of the teachers. And so ultimately, we won't know till, you know, next August probably, you know, what these final numbers look like. So ultimately, you know, you got to look at it as kind of an amendment. It's not being on the finance committee. It's nothing's exact numbers, I guess. But ultimately, it comes down to the fact that, you know, we all agreed that, you know, we wanted to do this for the teachers, and I think it just goes to show that we support them, and hopefully our numbers, you know, stay where they're at. So
I agree. I wish we could do more, but yeah, I mean, that's our, the general operating fund balance. I mean, we're healthy there. We've got way more than 3 months operating there, so, you know, I think we should be okay. Any more questions? All right, so I will look for a motion.
I, Blaine Nash, move to approve the one-time retention incentive of $750 for employees that were full-time prior to October 25th, 2024, and do not separate service prior to May 30th, 2025, as presented.
All right, second.
Hi, Generally Campbell. Go ahead, Ben.
I give up. I've been wanting to second the motion.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is consider approval of a budget amendment with Ms. Hermish.
So this budget amendment is directly related to the one-time retention payment, and so you see we're basically asking to increase the general fund budget by $956,426. The next sheet down will show you that itemized out by function. And so the one thing I do want to point out is you see some of the, outside of our teaching staff and our function 11, which is mostly our teachers, You do see that this has a good impact on Function 51, which is our maintenance staff, 35, our child nutrition staff, 34 transportation staff. So the 750 goes a long way to our auxiliary employees in particular. And so when we, as we talked about in that budget committee, when we do a 3% raise, sometimes that doesn't impact our hourly staff as much. And so this is one way that we can do some meaningful compensation for that group of our staff as well.
Any questions? All right, if not, I'll look for a motion.
I, Jason Bonney, move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
All right, second.
I've been wanting to second the motion.
All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you. Is consider approval of payment of $588,085.69 to City Public Service for the high school number 2 services. Mr. Barajas.
Yes, sir. CPS will be the provider for Medina Valley High School 2. So as we work with them, we have now received 3 invoices for underground wire and transformers, electric overhead extensions, and the service installation in the amount that you noted. And it is our recommendation that the board approve the CPS or payment to the CPS invoices in the amount of $588,085.69.
And this is bond 2023 funds for this?
No, this is within the project budget.
Budget. It's in the budget. Okay.
For the high school.
Yeah,
Soft cost.
correct. Okay. Thank you. All right, any more questions? Jason?
Once this is approved and move forward, when do you expect CPS to begin and finish this project?
We're looking at about 2 to 3 months
2
for
to
them
3
to. We're talking to them about expediting it. Any work that they do ahead of it will definitely help, not to be able to provide temporary power to the project, so.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, I'll look for a motion.
I, Joe Biediger, move to approve the payment of $588,085.69 to the City Public Service for high school number 2 services as presented.
All right, thank you. Second?
I, Blaine Nash, second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is a consider approval of change order number 1 to W.R. Griggs General Contractors for the Medina Valley High School Stadium Turf Project. Mr. Barajas.
Yes, sir. This is to approve, our recommendation to approve change order number 1, which is the final change order for unused project contingency in the amount of $164,620.20. Our recommendation is that the board approve change order number 1 and return the unused contingency to the district.
Any questions? Don't think so. All right, I'll look for a motion.
I, Jason Bonney, move to approve the change order number 1 to W.R. Griggs General Contractors for the MV High School Stadium Turf Project as presented.
All right, second.
I, Joe Biediger, second the motion.
All right, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, then all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the consider approval of change order number 3 to Nunley General Contractors for the Silos Elementary Project. Mr. Barajas.
Yes, sir. Just like the other change order, this is the final change order to Nunley General Contractors to return the unused contingency in the amount of $556,541. So our recommendation is that the board approve this change order number 3 as the final to return the surplus unused contingency to the district.
All right, any questions?
Questions?
Just so we're clear, both of these are basically refunds to 19's bond fund.
Correct. All right, no questions. I'll look for a motion.
Joe Biediger, move to approve change order number 3 to Nunley General Contractors for the Silos Elementary project as presented.
All right, a second.
I, Blaine Nash, second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is consider approval of E-rate technology equipment purchases from United Data Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $188,791.72. Mr. Lallman.
Good evening. This is going to be our last purchase off of the E-rate Category 2 contract that you all approved in the spring. This will be for replacement access points. We have about 80 access points that are for replacement, and then replacing all of our backup batteries at all of our campuses. And the district will receive about an 80% reimbursement from this.
Yeah, so we got approval for both 1 and 2 on
Yes,
the
sir.
E-rate. All right, thank you. All right, any further questions? All right, if not, I'll look for a motion.
I, Blaine Nash, move to approve the E-rate technology equipment purchase from United Data Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $188,791.72 as presented.
All right, look for a second.
Joe Biediger, second the motion.
And I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is closed session. The time is now 7:52 p.m. and the Board of Trustees will now convene in closed session as authorized by Section 551.071, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.089 of the Texas Open Meetings Act to discuss agenda items 7A through C. No action will be taken in closed session. The board is now in closed session. All right, the board is reconvening into open session at 8:36 PM. For the record, no action was taken in closed session. The next item is continued discussion and possible action items, consideration of future meeting dates. And our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 19th, 2024 at 6 PM. All right, next item on the agenda is adjournment. I'll look for a motion.
I, Joe Biediger, move to adjourn the regular board meeting at 8:37 PM on November 21st, 2024.
Thank you. A second?
I've been wanting to second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All board members voted for and the motion carries. Thank you.